Hi guys, this is Team Rawr here, and we are here to present our interdisciplinary framework for case number 1.
Sarah is a 28 years old and a certified nurse who worked in an intensive care unit. But because of the circumstances she's going through right now, she's currently taking up counseling sessions. In these sessions, she would usually refer to herself as plain, weak, unlikable, and unconfident. In her relationships with Philip, her current boyfriend, she would compromise a lot of her principle, thinking it can make her feel better about her past relationship, where she was cheated on and verbally abused by. Her current boyfriend would also criticize her physical appearance, which made things much worse. In addition to that, Sarah used to live with her parents, which also had a very big share on her traumatic experiences in life. Her mom would usually degrade and discourage her, which is why she feels very inadequate whenever she's with old people. On the other hand, Sarah, being close to her dad before, would also see how unfaithful he was to her mother. This brought guilt upon her. Because of all of this, she thinks lowly of herself and thinks that there's no way out of her problems.
Sarah has still managed to find her own identity despite having her personal problems. Despite having problems with her partner and her parents, she is still able to find her identity as a nurse. She may be facing problems with her personal life, but she is still able to enjoy her job as a nurse. Her problems did not make her feel lost from herself. Finding her own identity does not invalidate her problems, but it does not destroy her identity either. This explanation was formulated by using the question that philosophy tries to answer, which is who am I, and what makes a person's identity.
Sarah's unconfident and self-doubt action is led by its psychological perspective, pressure, and her mother's belittling and distrust of her. Even though she knows that her mother loved her, this would still make Sarah feel insecure. With that, she also didn't feel like she deserved to be with the person she thought she was. And when she is working in the hospital, she felt inferior and lacking in confidence in the presence of other women colleagues. Also, her action was reflected in other perspectives as well, showing tenderness such as kindness regarding others, and this idea can be found when her mother was furious of pressing her. Sarah didn't fight back, she just stayed silent and accepted everything.
Sarah's process of learning the appropriate behavior as a member of a smaller group within the larger society, which is her family, attributed to her personality and behavior in her adulthood. This socialization, which she was associated with at an early age, affected her individual consciousness because children are first able to take only the role of significant others. In her case, is her parents, and in addition to that, her mother's controlling behavior was also a factor that she was kept in the second stage of self-development, where she was only given a specific role to play.
Sarah adopted her mother's perspective of men being unreliable and unpredictable in general, causing her to tolerate this behavior. This is brought from the anthropological perspective, culture, an important factor as to how Sarah views men in relationships. Sarah had a traumatic childhood, given that her parents were not on good terms. Her father's unfaithfulness led to her parents' relationship faltering. Her mother, on the other hand, tolerated this behavior, which caused Sarah to adopt this kind of thinking. Due to these problems at home, Sarah grew up tolerating these behaviors in her future relationships, causing her to have the same problems akin to her mother's. While Sarah's parents may have contributed a lot to how she is accustomed to her behavior in relationships, this does not directly excuse the fact that both of her relationships failed because of the problems that these men had brought up. Her previous boyfriend's drinking problems and Philip's unfaithfulness were not Sarah's fault. These behaviors may have been tolerated by her, but she never directly caused them. As such, it is wrong to conclude that Sarah's culture alone led to her misery in relationships and behavior.
Sarah's experience from her traumatic childhood to abusive relationships made her tolerate every incident that came her way. She went with the flow and chose kindness in whatever life throws at her. This is where the Oriental perspective is applied. Sarah didn't react violently in any way, but instead, she consulted with a counselor to talk and just let it all out. Although she developed bad habits and negative thoughts, she still abided by her principles.
Sarah's parents didn't get along very well during her childhood. Her father had occasional affairs with other women while her mother, although not happy with the situation, tolerated it. Even though her mother is dictatorial and frequently puts her down, we might infer from Sarah's attitude that she also tolerates her mother. Sarah, meanwhile, was influenced by her mother's abuse of her. She sometimes made disparaging remarks about men in general.
Aside from her unfortunate childhood, Sarah's experience with the partners she had also made her question her worth. The way she tolerated her first partner being verbally abusive towards her and the fact that he is also a heavy drinker raises a red flag. Sarah also had instincts and knew about her last partner being unfaithful, but still gave him the benefit of the doubt. These are the events that we believe affected Sarah's behavior.
It is simple in the sense that we humans learn from society's norms, values, and expectations of people in general. From that experience, we can take the perspective of others and become self-conscious. It is complex because these details manifest later on in Sarah's life that affected her self-esteem, relationships, and in being independent.
Sarah's story is simple if you look at her present story. It is about her problems with her partner, which was Geuself, and her current job as a nurse. But it gets complex when you look at her story about her parents, which is more than a decade ago. All the parts of her story affect who she is now, including both her current and past story.
One way Sarah could achieve happiness is by staying single for the time being and focusing on working on herself first before entering another relationship. This would help her reevaluate her outlook on life and make better choices in the future. While there's nothing she can do about the choices and actions of her previous exes, she can still choose to learn from her own mistakes and grow from them.
So thank you guys so much for listening. Once again, we are Team Rawr, now signing off. Goodbye.